Are you feeling weary today? Kind of numb or simply worn out? Maybe you're finding fatigue and exhaustion are leading to a sense of weariness. And maybe you think it's because of the pandemic, the lockdown, or your crazy schedule or busyness, your workload or your overloaded diary. But what if there was a deeper reason? A reason that was predicted over 600 years before Christ by an ancient prophet. Well, stick around, because I'm going to show you today from God's word that weariness is really serious. It's much more than tiredness, but it can be beaten. So welcome to part 2 of Weariness. Now, if you missed part 1, it's available right here online on YouTube. You'll be able to find it. There's a new phrase this year in the Oxford English Dictionary, and I wonder if you can guess what it is. Watch this.
Feeling tired and drained all the time, then you may be suffering from lockdown fatigue. Fatigue. Now, aside from the tiredness and feeling drained, you may also be lacking in motivation, focus, feeling generally moody, and your sleep may also be affected as well.
Has got some numbers that suggest there is real lockdown fatigue developing here. Again, as
been in various types of lockdown for a while now in many places in the world. Are you feeling tired? Sleeping more than usual? Or maybe you just can't get to sleep. That feeling of exhaustion seems to be pretty common right now. A deep bone-numbing fatigue. Or maybe it's showing itself as a frustration as not being able to get motivated. Or maybe it's the lack of physical activity. Maybe you're craving physical touch. Maybe you're overloaded with news and information. Could it be too many Zoom video calls that's wearing you out? Or trying to school your kids at home while trying to work, or parent other non-school aged children too? Maybe it's this feeling of limbo. What happens next? What's the next stage? It's probably some or all of the above, and some other reasons that I've not mentioned too. Staying at home can be stressful, it can be boring, and people are also worried about their finances. All this is perfectly understandable, and be assured you're not alone. Lockdown fatigue is real. Lockdown fatigue is real.
Lockdown fatigue is real.
That's right, lockdown fatigue. Apparently it's very real. If you Google lockdown fatigue, you'll get over 11 million results, which is amazing. That phrase didn't exist just a year ago. Websites and blogs and social media are full of lockdown fatigue, which in the past was described, I think, simply as a weariness. Now, last week I showed you that we are living in an age where there is an all-out satanic attack that is demonic, and it is so subtle and clever. Last week we looked at the book of Daniel chapter 7, and it says that in the last days Satan's ultimate tactic will be to wear out the saints. Last week we saw that Satan has a strategic plan. There is a demonic weariness that is being waged against the body of Christ today. Now remember, tiredness is a condition of the body. Weariness is a condition of the soul. And that's why even some of your friends, your unbelieving friends, maybe don't have an answer for their continual exhaustion and fatigue. They don't believe in a soul. So they live confused about that inner aching, that weary longing for satisfaction and for life. You see, their condition doesn't come from over-expending energy or having a stimulating life. Now, today, we're beginning to look at 6 very natural causes of weariness and how to combat them. Now, as always, on live streams, I'm intentionally just scraping the surface. And my aim is that you dig deeper after the live stream, maybe using the questions that will come up at the end. But today we have time for just 2 of these very natural causes of weariness that can be used by the enemy to simply ruin your life. So let's get ready. Let's dig in straight away. And the first one is troubles. troubles. And I'm going to read from Psalm chapter 31. Psalm 31. It was written by David, and he had more than his fair share of troubles. He had a dysfunctional family life. He had a bad marriage. He had kids that were off the rails. He was the king of a nation that constantly messed up. He spent his entire life with more troubles than most people. But in Psalm chapter 31, David writes these words: "Be kind to me, God." Verse 6. "Be kind to me, God. I'm in deep, deep trouble again. I've cried my eyes out. I feel hollow inside. My life leaks away, groan by groan. My years fade out in sighs. My troubles have worn me out. My troubles have worn me out. They've turned my bones to powder, taken my strength and energy." Wow, how descriptive is that of weariness? You have no strength, no energy for life. And as we saw last week, that doesn't mean you're necessarily doing more. It's a soul condition. Job was another character found in the Bible. You know, for many years, Job didn't seem to have any problems, no problems at all. He was a wealthy guy doing good in life until one day everything went wrong. Have you ever had one of those days? Oh, if not, God bless you. That's great news. But they're pretty brutal for the rest of us that have had a day where everything just went belly up and went wrong. And Job had one of those days, and he wrote a whole book about it. The book of Job, named after himself. And in Job chapter 10, verse 1, he says this: "I am weary of my life and loathe it. I will give free expression to my complaint. I will speak in the bitterness of my soul." Wow, Job, not just a bad hair day, but a season of his life where he just loathed and was weary of his life. Now, I could give you a long list of Bible writers who got weary through problems and troubles. David and Job write that problems can cause even a weariness of life, make you question the point for living. And maybe you're watching today and you have more problems in your life than you can count. Maybe they crept upon you, or maybe like Job, there was that certain day or season when things turned bad. The results came back and they weren't what you were expecting. They were your worst fears. That person walked out on you. The company downsizing, and it was your name on the top of the list to go. If you've been through a season like that and this season is still dragging on in your life and causing weariness, well, Jesus has some words for you, my friend, this morning. In John chapter 16, from the Amplified version of the Bible, John 16, verse 33, Jesus said, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have perfect peace and confidence. In the world you have tribulation and trials and distress and frustration. But be of good cheer." Be of good cheer. That means take courage. Be confident, certain, and undaunted. Just a note, weariness can really affect all of those things in your life. It affects your confidence for living life to the full. It's not a sign you're out of God's will. It's not a sign even that you've done something wrong. It's just life. Life sometimes happens and comes at you and brings those things into your life. But Jesus carries on, "For I have overcome the world." What does that mean? "I have deprived it of power to harm you and have conquered it for you." I love that. "For I have overcome the world. I have deprived it of power to harm you and have conquered it for you." Friend, any problem today that is wearing you out, Jesus has already taken the sting out of it. He has made sure that trouble, that circumstance, that problem will not finish you off. You will come through this season. Let me encourage you today. This pandemic will not destroy you. It will not be the end of your story. And be assured, when the lockdown is over and the pandemic is gone, there will be other troubles in the world. How do I know that? Because Jesus promised that as well. But more to the point, he has overcome the world. He has promised that he has overcome the world. What the enemy has meant for bad, Jesus can turn around for good in your life. Your troubles today will be your testimony tomorrow. In me, you may have perfect peace and confidence, Jesus said. If you've got more troubles today than you can count, if you've lost your peace and you're just weary from it all, can I encourage you, even today, take a minute, find a place and find a time to simply rest. Here's the key: rest in him, in him. If you're not in the habit of doing that, or you've got out of the habit, maybe in lockdown, just start with 15 minutes. Don't think I'm going to spend time with God today, the whole day. No, you probably won't have that time. You won't have those margins. But I want to encourage you, just start today. Before the sun goes down today, whatever day you're watching this on, it might be Sunday, it might be another day of the week, and just find 15 minutes, just quarter of an hour of your day. I promise you, you won't regret it. You'll get back your perspective, but more importantly, you'll find peace like a river flowing through your soul. And that's what Jesus said. Oh, and by the way, in the last verse of Psalm 31, it sounds like David was going through a bad hair day, but this is what he said right at the end. The last verse of Psalm 31, David says this, and he's saying this to you today. Through time, he's speaking to your situation and to your troubles. He's saying this: be brave and be strong. Don't give up. Expect God to get here soon. You might feel like you've been abandoned, like he's not there for you. I want you to stay in faith today. You know, he started the psalm in distress, but ended with hope and expectation. Maybe, just maybe, that's a word for you today. Find time today and let expectation rise up in your soul again, that God will get into your situation and come and sort out those troubles real soon. So troubles, a common doorway into weariness, as is the next one, which is people. People. There's a book in the Bible called Nehemiah, after the guy who wrote it. We're going to read in a moment from Nehemiah chapter 4. Nehemiah was given a massive task by God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem that had been destroyed and make way for a new place of worship for God's people that at that time were in bondage and in slavery. So he got a team together. He traveled miles and miles, and he started the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem. And in Nehemiah chapter 4, it was all going well. It was another one of those moments where things were going well. The walls were building and going up, and people were working and talking and worshipping God as they did it. But in Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 7, this happened. It says, but when Sanballat and Tobiah heard that the work was going ahead and that the gaps in the wall of Jerusalem were being repaired, they were furious. They all made plans to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw us into confusion. But we prayed to our God and guarded the city day and night to protect ourselves. Then the people of Judah began to complain. The workers are getting tired and there is so much rubble to be moved. We will never be able to build the wall by ourselves. Verse 11. Meanwhile, our enemies were saying, before they know what's happening, we will swoop down on them and kill them and end their work. So halfway through the building project, the workers were getting weary, not through the work itself. Now, the work was taxing and it was hard. It was hard work, but it was the criticism and the gossiping of the people that wore the workers down. And here's an interesting thing, because we know the end of the story. Nothing that was being said was true, and none of it actually happened. Looking back in history, we know that now. But the constant negativity of only a few people was wearing everybody out. We continue the story. Nehemiah chapter 6 says, Sanballat and Tobiah wanted a meeting. They wanted to voice their concerns and get their point across to everybody. But Nehemiah said this, verse 2, I knew they were scheming to hurt me, so I sent messengers back with this. I'm doing a great work. I can't come down. Why should the work come to a standstill just so I can come down to see you? I just really love that. I'm doing a great work. What confidence. What an awesome thing to be able to say. Can you say that today? I'm building God's kingdom. I'm doing a great work. I'm using my time for God. I'm teaching my own kids. I'm raising world-changing kids at home. I'm doing a great work. Can you say that about what you're doing today? I'm doing a great work. So I'm very sorry. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get on with it. Note, I said this last time. Be careful who you hang around with, who you listen to on social media and any medium in your life, who you watch, who you listen to. Why? Because weariness, well, friend, weariness is much more contagious than COVID-19. It catches so easily. And David in the Bible knew this, but he also knew how to combat it, because he said this that I think speaks into this element of weariness. Psalm 57 verse 6, he said, my enemies have set a trap for me. I am weary from distress. They have dug a deep pit in my path, but they themselves have fallen into it. I just want to say this. If you're facing issues with difficult people right now in your life, don't fight them. Let God fight your battles. Trust him to deal with difficult people. If you engage people over every word or offensive thing, it will simply, friend, I know from experience, it will simply wear you out. David continues in Psalm 110, he says this, verse 1, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand. Just come and sit with me at my right hand till I make your enemies your footstool. Somebody once told me, your friends will take you so far, but your enemies will take you further. And I think that's true. The Lord is saying to David here, and he's got so many troubles with people and people attacking him. He's saying to David, don't panic, just sit with me for a minute. And that situation will become a footstool. It will elevate you to your next season. David, just step up. Use that situation that looks bad as a footstool. What's a footstool for? It's something where you step up to a higher level. You know, I want to encourage you today, if you're in a situation like that, don't keep complaining. Don't get on social media about it. Just step up. Use it as a situation that can step you up to the higher level that God wants to take you. Listen, there will always be those around you who seek to pull you down and be negative. I don't like the way you're doing that. I disagree with this. I think you could do your job better, or why are you doing it that way? Listen, friend, don't get all uptight and panicky. Just remind yourself like Nehemiah, I'm doing a great work. I'm sorry. I'm not available to moan and to gossip and to gripe. I'm not going to start venting on Facebook or get into an email war. I'm going to put you right. I'm going to correct you. No, why? Because it will bring weariness into your life like you've never experienced. What do you need to do? Just those things that are coming against you, use them as a footstool. Just step up into your calling, step up into a higher place, rise up, step up, rise up. Like we looked at last week in Isaiah chapter 40, rise up on wings as eagles. Sometimes you have to leave the chickens to cluck, cluck, cluck. You're not called to be a chicken. Don't stay down there clucking around on the ground. Rise up like an eagle. Step up, rise up into the presence of Jesus. He's waiting there for you to rise up, to sit with him, and he'll sort everything out. So to close today, are troubles wearing you out? Just take time. Just take some time today, whatever day you're watching this on. Take time today to wait on Jesus. You won't regret it. Are you weary of difficult people? I just want to encourage you, step up. Use that challenge as a footstool. Don't step on them, step on the situation. Step up into maybe new relationships. Maybe that's what God had planned for you, so he allowed this. Step up into a new chapter. It might be a new job, a new opportunity, or a new way for you of doing life. step up this week. Well, time has gone. Will you take a few minutes at the end just for the food for thought questions? They'll help you out to dig a bit deeper on this whole subject. But for now, God bless you, and I'll see you here next week for the last part of this talk.